Hello YouTube and fellow Star Wars collectors! On this episode of Toys Are the Way, we'll be taking a look at the latest addition to the Vintage Collection environmental lineup, the Streets of Mos Eisley playset from Star Wars A New Hope. Welcome back everyone. So here we have another Vintage Collection delivery, and this time from Amazon. But these are shipping out from Entertainment Earth. I have two more coming from there, and it looks like Hasbro Pulse is also shipping them out as well. So be prepared to add this one to your collection. Now, I'm definitely pretty excited for this. I'm somebody who likes to set up my figures and take photos of them, so having a different environment to set them up in is always a plus for me. And this is also going to be a nice display piece for any kind of, shelf collection or just your vintage collection displays in general. So with all that being said, don't forget to smash a like on this video, subscribe if you're new, or even become a channel member, and let's take a closer look at the packaging, playset, and figure. Taking a look at our vintage style packaging, we have the Star Wars racetrack logo providing a wonderful frame for this Streets of Mos Eisley diorama setting, where we have a Jawa looking pretty lonely in my opinion in this ghost town of Tatooine. I think they wanted to include only the figures and accessories that come with this set, as opposed to populating it with a bunch of 375 figures. The Jawa looks pretty good, and the accessories really add a lot of life to this scene, and I'm personally always somebody who likes to see those types of inclusions. I will point out there is one accessory tucked away in the back that actually does not come with this set, but it's nice to see, and it is the moisture evaporator from the 30th anniversary collection Luke Skywalker release. I personally think that would be a nice accessory to get back out there in a deluxe style box with an army builder, perhaps a Tusken Raider. Naturally, we have the Kenner logo down below looking really fantastic, and we have the Hildebrandt one up above by the Star Wars logo itself. And then lastly, we have the call out letting us know that there is an included carded figure with this set, which is the hungover Jawa. Taking a look at the top of the box, we have the Star Wars and Hildebrandt logo, followed by a series of thumbnails showing off all the interactive features of this environmental setting through a number of different action figure photography shots. Meanwhile, on the bottom of the box, we have the Star Wars and Kenner logo once again, followed by a thumbnail showing all the different parts and accessories that are included in this set. And lastly, on the side of the box, we have the Star Wars and Hildebrandt logo once again, followed by an image of the Jawa interacting with the Gatekeeper droid, and one last image showing a configuration of multiple sets put together. And lastly, taking a look at the back of the box, we have the same exact layout as we have on the front, except this time we have the Vintage Collection logo displayed, along with the Disney and Hasbro ones in the bottom right corner. Taking a look at the contents inside of the box, everything slides out in a nice cardboard tray, which we are very used to now with these Vintage Collection items. Everything is packed away in baggies or nice cardboard pieces, keeping everything very organized and safe. And as you can see, the card is 100% nice and mint, so that packaging is always very, very appreciated. And lastly, we have the instructions, which show a number of different ways that you can put this thing together and all the contents that are included in this set. Taking a look at our vintage style packaging for the included figure, we have the classic Star Wars racetrack logo followed by Jawa Mos Eisley on a yellow name pill color. We have a fantastic image of the Jawa outside the Mos Eisley cantina looking a bit hungover with the Kenner logo down below. Additionally, we have the Hildebrandt logo in the top right corner, which looks really nice. And then we have a Jawa on a bubble looking pretty good with a couple of new accessories. On the back, he is VC342 in the line, Jawa Mos Eisley, and we have a small description of the character followed by the Vintage Collection logo and additional images of the card and figure. So this will definitely make a fine addition to my card collection. I'm a big fan of Jawas, and I think this is a really good looking image, and it's nice to get another Jawa variant into the line. This one comes with a couple different accessories, and while it's not the best figure in my opinion, it's definitely going to look pretty good on my carded collection. Taking a look at the Jawa out of the packaging, I'm not going to go too deep into this figure because this is something that we're familiar with in the Vintage Collection, and unfortunately it's not one of the best figures, which is a bit of a shame because I really like Jawas quite a bit. But it does come with the two standard blaster rifles that we always see it come with. This one has a little bit of paint application there, so that's fantastic. It also comes with that very small blaster pistol that we typically see, which can actually go into this holster right here, which is actually a brand new different piece. So is the bandolier, so that's great. Made of a soft plastic, which is nice. You're able to remove these if you want to and get a little bit creative with your Jawas. Now the one thing I will say is that it looks like it was designed for a much larger weapon, but you cannot get these in there because the barrel is too large to put in there, and that's a bit of a shame. We did have a vintage collection release prior to this sculpt that they've been using that has like a slit down the side of this, so you're able to put that in there. And I'm curious why they opted not to do that, because it does look like it's supposed to hold a rifle, but maybe that's something I customize, I'm not sure. Taking a look at the rest of the figure, it's a bit of a bummer because it has swivel hips and nothing past that. No ankle articulation, no other, swivels at the thigh or anything. And I've always found this figure to be a bit frustrating when it comes to, making it stand. It's got some okay arm articulation. It's got a bend at the elbow. It's got, the jointed shoulders. It does have just a swivel hand. And the thing that's always bummed me out the most about this figure is it just cannot hold the blaster in a very convincing way. I'm not even going to try because just look how small the arms are. It just cannot interact with the weapon very well. It does have pretty good range of motion when it comes to the head. I'm okay with the soft plastic here versus, having fabric. But yeah, I really think, the Jawa needs a little bit of love and an overhaul. And if you've never seen one of my custom videos where I show you how to take the vintage collection quill and just swap off all these robes and get a fully articulated Jawa for your collection, I urge you to go take a look at that. And that's something we're going to take a look at next. Here you can see the Jawa included with the Streets of Mos Eisley playset compared to my two customs. We have an off-world Jawa here using the vintage collection quill body that was, painted to match his cloaks. And as you can see, it can actually sit cross-legged, which is pretty interesting because this Jawa can only sit like this. And the card back has him, cross-legged outside of the cantina. And he just cannot achieve what's even shown on the card back, which is a bit of a bummer because all you have to do is, put some proper robes on an articulated figure and we would have had a much better Jawa. So that's unfortunate. And then we have one here, once again, using the quill body. I didn't even opt to, paint it at all. I just put the robes on, and these are the ones from the Tika release that came with that Obi-Wan Kenobi 3-pack. And as you can see, he can actually do a compelling rifle shot there. So that's something that I like to see with my figures. I want this Jawa to actually be able to capture some droids and not look like he's incapable of doing so. And let's just try it here with this Jawa real quick because, might as well just show. It just doesn't have the articulation needed to even do a two-handed grip of the rifle very well. So I'm not even going to bother because that's way too much effort there, even for someone like me to, try to get this figure to do what I need it to do. Even standing, you have to kind of lean him back to get his feet flat. And yeah, I'm a big fan of Jawas, and this is just not my favorite figure. So I wish Hasbro would be a little bit more creative and use something they have. Quill is there, he's available. Put some cloaks on him, give him a bandolier, make a fully articulated Jawa. Taking a look at everything out of the packaging and fully assembled, you can see the Streets of Mos Eisley will make a fine addition to your collection room and shelf display. It's definitely something that I am pretty excited about when it comes to, photography and just like display in my collection room. So yeah, I know this is not an easy thing for people to like build from scratch. I typically do out of like foam and all sorts of stuff like that. So it's nice to get this kind of option out there for everybody who's not exactly, a hands-on world builder, if you will. And I'm also pretty excited to see some more accessories make their way into the line. This is something that a lot of 3D printers and people in the community offer, but it's nice to always get, official ones from Hasbro. So that's pretty cool as well. We will definitely take a closer look at all those accessories because I am definitely very excited about those. But first things first, let's take a look at the set itself and the main bantha in the room that everyone wants to talk about, which is the lack of paint applications here. So I really do think this is a nice piece. It's got some great sculpting, as you can see, lots of detail and cracks, just adding lots of different texture that you would actually see on one of these buildings in Mos Eisley. But it is looking a bit clean in my opinion. Now, I don't think this needs a heavy wash or anything like that, but a little bit of paint application would have been nice to see, just a little bit of dirt and grime added to this. And as somebody who does photography, my main concern here is actually this doesn't look like stone to me. It has a lot of shine to it because it is a plastic piece and it's a very clean plastic piece. So that's something that I'm going to have to tackle when it comes to like photography, because texture is something that's really important to me. And when I build my buildings from scratch, I usually cover them in grout, which adds that nice stone texture and just like, dulls out the light. So that's something that's a little bit unfortunate here. And I think some paint really could have gone a long way. So the main door, pretty cool. This is the main facade. It does have separate steps here, which you can see have two different sides. You have one that's kind of covered in sand and one that's just a little bit, cleaner, but has like cracks and, just like some missing pieces to the edge of the stairs. You can do either one, which is pretty cool. So there's a little bit of flexibility there, which is really nice. They just kind of, slide in place like so. So yeah, options there. And then we have the door, which looks fantastic. You got some nice sculpting on it. Looks like something you would see in Tatooine. And it has a mechanism in the back that allows you to open and close. So that is really cool. I like that they heard the feedback when it comes to the Navarro Cantina set, which had a cardboard door, which I don't think anybody really liked. Taking a closer look at the door and the control panel, it has some wonderful paint applications on it and some nice sculpting as well. It's not exactly the circular one that you see on a lot of Mos Eisley buildings, but it does the part, which is pretty nice. And then, of course, we have something that's really excited, the Gatekeeper droid, the Y7 droid that we see in The Mandalorian and also in Return of the Jedi at Jabba's Palace. So really cool that we're getting this character added to the line as an accessory, and this is definitely something that's pretty fun in my opinion. Now it does snap on there pretty well and stays snug, and you're able to control it from the back there, which is pretty cool. I will say that it's unfortunate that you're not able to remove it and then close the little door that he comes out of. That would have been nice to see if perhaps this does come off. I think you can kind of pull it with some force. I don't want to do it right now and completely remove it so it's smooth. And then yeah, it would have been cool if this little flap went down, but not really a deal breaker, just something that I think would have been kind of nice to see. Moving on to the side profile, we have these pegs here, which are pretty standard to what we see on a lot of these modular sets that we've been getting for the vintage collection. And here you can see the receiving end, which is very similar to the Navarro Cantina. So all you have to do is line it up like so and just put it together. And it stays pretty snug, which is, nice. It's not falling apart. So that is great. Taking a look at the back side, you don't really have, a complete interior here. So that is a little bit unfortunate, but there's no way that they could kind of provide that on both sides without, getting really technical, I think. So yeah, pretty decent. I will say that you don't necessarily have to always, clip it in place. Now, if you wanted to get a building like so, it doesn't snap in place like that, but you could always line it up, and then you have kind of a whole building there. So if you wanted to get kind of creative with how you're laying this out, that is an option as well. You could even do something like this if you didn't like the pegs and you'd prefer the holes. So there's a little bit of flexibility here when it comes to, putting this thing together. So in the end, it was designed to actually, kind of clip in place, but you can, as I said, do what you feel for your collection room and display options. Taking a look at the other piece of the wall here, it has, of course, very little to actually no weathering, but it does have some great detail. I like all these cracks and just, texture that they did add here to this sculpt. It does have this air vent here, which is pretty nice. It's made of a plastic piece that I think they've inserted in there. Yeah. And then it's like a gun metallic color. So pretty cool there. Once again, the back doesn't have, interior side, but yeah, pretty decent stuff going on there. And then taking a look at the next piece we have, which is the archway. Archway looks really good. Similar thing going on here with texture and a lot of different cracks on the wall. It's got this lip on the top, and it does have sculpted sand, which helps it, I guess, stand better. I kind of could have gone without that, but I think it does help it maybe stand better. So pretty decent. You've got the pegs on the side, some on the front, and then you've got the receiving end on this side. And it does have these larger pegs back here because you're able to put two of them together according to, the instruction manual. And we'll take a look at that in just a moment. But yeah, pretty good stuff here. Once again, modular, so you can put this on either side, which is pretty nice. You can even, it looks like, yeah, you can have it set up like so. So yeah, pretty cool stuff when it comes to, the flexibility of this set. Now let's take it apart and kind of do some stuff where, let's just lay it out and say we were going to actually clip into place there. So you're getting a little bit more, display options. Doesn't really have anything to peg in here, but like I said, you can also just, line things up, even put it at an angle like that. So yeah, lots of flexibility here when it comes to this set, and you can have a bunch of different figures here and have this displayed in your room or take some photos of it. So definitely really liking what they did here. So one last thing I wanted to show is just the modular ability of this set. Here we have the old Navarro Cantina playset that was released a couple of years back, and it is designed exactly the same. Take a look at the holes, and all you have to do is take, our new set and simply clip these things together. Just bear with me 1 second here while I line them all up. And there you go. That clips in, and now you have an interesting archway with a different door. Now, it really would have been cool if they kept the, the plastic colors consistent across some of these stone buildings, but if you want to get really creative and start painting these things to match, that could be, something that's pretty exciting for your collection. And if we take that piece off, I'll just show you how it clips in with the main piece. So, again, designed very similar. All you have to do is clip that in. And there you have a slightly different display option. So lots of cool stuff going on here in terms of the vintage collection and the 3.75 scale. And yeah, lots of different display options when it comes to your collection room. Moving right along, I wanted to take a look at the world building accessories that are included with the Streets of Mos Eisley set. Something else to note is the configuration in the back. Here you can see I've taken two facades with the doors, put them up against each other, and have the other walls on the exterior ends, which, is pretty cool. You got another different display option there as well. But moving on to the accessories, these are things that I'm always very excited to get into the 375 line, just because, I like having these world building elements. I like putting them with other figures. I like using them with my photography. And you don't necessarily have to even use them with this set. You can have them displayed in other areas of your collection with different figures. So lots of versatility here, which is always fantastic. But the first thing I want to talk about is the generator box. So this is a pretty cool accessory to get into the line. I don't think this was one that I was expecting, and I'm pleasantly surprised. I also like that it's actually, functional. You can take this top off and actually store some extra blasters in there or whatever, you need to put away in here. So pretty cool stuff. It also has some actual weathering on it, which is nice to see. And maybe if some paint applications like this would have been nice on the walls themselves. But regardless, it's got some wonderful detail here, lots of sculpting. It's a pretty basic and repetitive design, but it's still very impressive. Now, I will compare it to one that I have from Hole in the Ground Productions, which, if you're not familiar with, I have a world building video showing all my different favorite vendors and people in the community who offer these types of either 3D printed or resin pieces. Looks like the Jawa went down in the back because he's had way too much spotchka. But moving on, I think they have scaled it pretty well. Hole in the Ground Productions is pretty amazing when it comes to, making these pieces and keeping them, very accurate to what you would see in the movies. So pretty cool here. I did want to show that they have a different option here that you see on the Lars Homestead, where it's got, these power units on the top and stuff. So different designs, but Hasbro opted to go with this one. And I don't know if it's exactly 100% accurate. We'll have to take a closer look. Because you can see there's vents on this top one that I got from Hole in the Ground. But regardless, a cool accessory for people who don't have access to, these vendors and stuff like that. The only thing I will say is I don't like how it's sculpted on all of the sides. Therefore, it doesn't have a flat bottom. And because of that, it's always going to lean a little bit like that. So that's my only gripe with that accessory. But moving on, we have another accessory which is pretty exciting, and it is these little cubes, which are very unique to the Star Wars universe. And this is the first time we're seeing these individual cubes make their way into the line. And I'm very happy to see these and very impressed because they also have a top, so they're functional. Great stuff there. These two are, colors that you actually see in Docking Bay 94 when they first see the Millennium Falcon. They do have a black detail on that little circular piece. So these aren't exactly the actual ones that you see in that scene, but it's still cool to get them into the line. So very happy with them. You typically do see them in other parts of, the Star Wars universe and other different movies and stuff where they're just a single color. So not too hung up on, that little paint detail being left out there. Again, I will say they are nearly identical to what Hole in the Ground Productions offers in terms of their scaling. So Hasbro and both Hole in the Ground Productions are doing a pretty good job when it comes to, making sure these are the scale that they need to be. I will say, there's a little difference here where the circle is a bit larger, and I'm not sure which one is more accurate. I think I like the Hasbro one a little bit more, but let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. So once again, cool to get these accessories out there, especially for people who don't have access to printers or just, any of these resin type of kits. So great stuff there. Then we have this little canister here, which is, some people might think this is kind of boring, but I'm always here for more, crates and barrels and stuff like that. It's pretty much casted in a solid piece of like gunmetal plastic, which it looks like it does have a seam here. So I guess it was two pieces that they actually glued it together or something like that. This one you actually see on the Lars Homestead. So that's another unique item that I can always put with my Lars Homestead if I choose to do so. So pretty cool. And then we have this little vent piece. Not much going on here in terms of paint applications, as you can see with most of the accessories. It does have some wonderful detail here on the vents, and it's designed to, go up against a wall and be flat. So pretty cool. Once again, great to get that kind of accessory. That's something that I can not only use here, but, maybe put with some of my other diorama pieces if I wanted to add some more detail and stuff. So really nice to see another accessory like that. And then lastly, we have the Gatekeeper droid, which I just wanted to show off a little bit more. Here you can see some of that nice detail we have on the sculpting of this piece. Pretty cool. Like I said, it could have used a little more paint applications there because it's not looking exactly like what we saw in the movies and shows. But regardless, I'm definitely pretty excited to have this added to my collection. And like I said, it's nice to have it added to, the wall, but I can also, maybe display this on some of my other dioramas if I choose to do so, or make, the little like door latch thing that he pops out of. And lastly, I wanted to show off one last configuration showing these two sets fully assembled using all the different parts. This is very similar to some of the configurations that Hasbro shows off on the box art imagery, and I gotta say that this is definitely a great world building piece to get into the line. Here you can see some wonderful line of sight going back there, and it just really adds a lot of depth to this world and environment that we're trying to create in our collection rooms. But with all that being said and done, I think it's time to get some more figures out and put this thing to the test in some actual action figure photography. I hope you've enjoyed this video and taking a look at this latest addition to the Vintage Collection environmental lineup, the Streets of Mos Eisley playset. Feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And don't forget to smash a like on this video and subscribe if you're new to the channel. It really helps and is always greatly appreciated. Thanks everyone, and may the Force be with you.